Two is we need to realize that your samsara is not the same as my samsara. There is as many samsaras as there are worldly people in the planet. So if you attain liberation from samsara, I am still trapped in my samsara. So you have to attain liberation from your samsara. I have to attain liberation from my samsara. This person has to attain liberation from their samsara. We all have our own personal samsara that we're living in this little hell, this own personal hell that we're living in. So that's the second thing to understand about samsara. Samsara is it's a personal thing. So number one is it's our body and mind, basically, and number two is it's a personal thing. Number three is when we need to get big picture. So to understand samsara, we have to get big picture. We can't understand samsara just by looking at this life and looking at our body and looking at our mind and thinking this is our samsara, because it's not our samsara. I'm going to bring out my favorite teaching aid, which is my mala. And kind of imagine that each of these beads is just one life. And the string going through these beads is our mind that goes from life to life. And if we ask ourselves, which bead is more important? Which bead on this mala is more important? So we'd say that they're all the same. But that's not the way we think. What we just said, they're all the same. That's a big picture. We're seeing a big picture. We're seeing the whole mala, the whole rosary. But that's not what we see when we look at ourselves living on our life. We're just one bead in that rosary. We don't see and our future life is another bead, and the life after that is another bead, and then we've got the beads that go before us, our previous lives. We don't look at our life now and see all the beads before and after. We just look at this life and that's all we see. We just see this bead and we think this is the most important life in all the world. And okay, we believe in future lives because we have been taught to believe in future lives. And we believe in past lives because we have been taught to believe in past lives. But we don't put the emotional importance upon these that we need to in order to develop renunciation. So we will be looking at this later on in the retreat, but basically, we're not trying to free like this life. I'm an unhappy person at the moment. I just want to attain liberation. That's a very this life thing. We're looking at the big picture, all our lives. I'm thinking, I'm going to get sick and die. And then my next life, I'm going to get sick and die. And then I'm going to get sick again and get old. And get old lifetime after lifetime after lifetime, or experience the suffering of aging lifetime after lifetime after lifetime, not just once. It's hard enough once. We can do it if we're a little bit stoic, but experiencing suffering of aging once is hard. But think about having to experience that hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of times in the future. That is what Buddha meant when he talked about the suffering of aging. He didn't mean the aging of this life. He was talking about the aging we experience in thousands and thousands and thousands of future lives. That's what he was talking about when he said the suffering of aging. Like the four great rivers of birth, aging, sickness, and death. So to enter into renunciation, we need a bit of a big picture view. We need to be able to kind of a little bit like step out of this life and see all our lives like beads on a rosary, and develop the wish to leave the rosary. That's what renunciation is. And we leave the rosary, that contaminated rosary, by turning inwards and realizing emptiness deep within.